being told that you are great at your job is not the same as being seen as promotion ready. Companies don't only promote those who are working at the next level, they promote those who can show that they are already operating at the next level. And there's a difference between working at the next level and showing that you are working at the next level. And women, more than men, are great at working at the next level, but they are so bad at showing that they are working at the next level. You're listening to Fearless Career Moves. I'm your host, Richa Bansal, founder of Pink Careers, award-winning executive career coach, and former Amazon leader, here to help ambitious women ditch imposter syndrome, lead boldly, make more money, and build careers they love on their own terms. Women can have it all, and I'm here to show you how. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of the Fearless Career Moves podcast. I'm your host, Richa Bansal, and I am really excited to be talking to you about today's topic, which is why high-performing women in tech still get overlooked for promotion. I am also very excited to be recording this episode today because it comes after a break of nearly 9 months from the last time I recorded a podcast episode. So just for some context, I have a really small team, and my wonderful program manager not only helps all of our clients with managing their work, their access in the program, and supporting them through the program, but she was also helping me with all the moving pieces that go behind producing a podcast. And guys, that it's a lot. So without having any dedicated resource, unfortunately, the production of this podcast fell to the back burner. And producing a podcast is something that I had on my bucket list quite literally from 6 years. In multiple times, I think at least 3 times, I made an effort to start the podcast and record a few episodes and kind of like fell on the back burner again. But this time I decided it's going to be different. Okay. It is important enough. It is so important to me to be able to share some of these strategies, some of these things that we are seeing work for our clients, some of the mistakes that we see our clients make over and over again, what you should not be doing. It is so important for me to share that with you that I have finally decided to hire a podcast production team. And so I am super, super, super excited to work with this team and finally get this podcast to live in a consistent manner. So with that being said, let's come back to our topic for today, which is why high-performing women in tech still get overlooked for promotion. And I see this happen all the time. And that is why I feel like this topic is so close to my heart. I see this happen all the time, especially for women who are always doing amazing, amazing work, okay? Women who are doing amazing work, women who have all of the experience, all of the education, all of the expertise to move to the next level, okay? Like day in, day out inside the Fearless Hire, which is my signature career accelerator, we work with women who have been told over and over again that you are doing great. You're doing great. And these women are actually doing great work. They're managing multi-million-dollar programs. They are somebody who everybody kind of like depends on to get things done. But when it comes time for their promotion to the next level, they get passed over, they get stalled at the same level, reorgs happen, business case changes, and they just get stuck or they get moved out of this leadership path that they thought was coming, okay? They thought that was laid out for them. And the hardest part is that oftentimes these women don't even see it coming until it's too late. Okay. In fact, I remember one of our recent clients who has joined the program, just a little bit of like her story. She is an amazing program leader. And she has she's been working with her company for over 15 years. She's a senior manager position, had managed a team of over 10 individuals, had received strong recommendations or strong performance reviews 3 years in a row. And in fact, she and her manager were already discussing promotion as well. Okay. So she and her manager were also discussing promotion. Like everything was seemingly going well. She was on track to get promoted. And then one day she goes to office and opens her laptop and she sees the email that a big reorg had happened. And not only is the promotion not coming, she was actually demoted. She was demoted from a senior manager role into an individual contributor title. Her scope was cut, her title was cut, and her team went from 10 to 0. Okay. She was doing all the good work. She was doing excellent work, but still that promotion never came. And the sad bit is that this is not an isolated story. I mean, I can tell you countless stories. Another one of my clients, she was a team lead, software engineering team lead for 4 years. And same story, like her manager year over year told her that, yes, next year you're in line for promotion, next year you're in line for promotion. And every single year she would see somebody who was less qualified, had less number of years of experience, get promoted before her. And she couldn't understand what to do differently until we started working together. And we worked together for 6 months. I remember for this lady, this was at the time when I used to do one-on-one coaching, when I'd first started Pink Careers. And for 6 months, she learned what needs to happen differently in something that we're going to talk about today in just a few minutes. She learned what needed to happen differently for her management, for her leadership, to stop seeing her as a workhorse and start seeing her as a strategic leader. And within 6 months, she was finally promoted to that SDM role that she had been eyeing for 4 years, guys, 4 years. All right, so the kind of like the main lesson that I'm trying to get to, that we will be working through in the episode today, is that being told that you are great at your job is not the same as being seen as promotion ready. Okay, being told that you are doing great at your job is not the same as being seen as promotion ready, because companies promote those who not only do work at the next level, but those who can show that they are working at the next level. All right, there's a difference here. Again, let me repeat. Companies don't only promote those who are working at the next level, they promote those who can show that they are already operating at the next level. And there's a difference between working at the next level and showing that you are working at the next level. And women, more than men, are great at working at the next level, but they are so bad at showing that they are working at the next level. And so the right people, the right leadership, not just your boss, but the right people, the right leadership needs to see that you are solving next level problems, that you are solving next level business critical problems, to be able to be seen that you are indeed promotion ready. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. So let's get into 3 main reasons. As I've worked with over 500 women in the last 4 or 5 years that I've been leading Pink Careers, here are like sort of the 3 big reasons that I've noticed why women get stuck, why women get overlooked for promotions despite doing excellent work. So let's get into the first reason. And the first reason why women get stuck and often get overlooked for promotions is that they assume that hard work is going to be recognized on their own. Okay. Many high-performing women believe that if they keep delivering, if they keep doing the good work, if they keep putting their heads down and be that go-to person who everybody goes to and say, hey, look, Asha is your person. If they keep being that person who everybody comes to and do good work, that somebody is going to take notice and reward them and get them promoted. But this is now not how corporate America works. This is not how corporate America works. In fact, most of the times, hard work just gets you more work. Okay? Hard work just gets you more work, not necessarily more power, more scope, or more title. Okay? And it's often where, like, I see women tell me, it's a little exercise that I often do with my clients, and I ask them, what 3 words are you known for? Okay, if you were to think about 3 words that you're known for, what would those words be? And many a times I get answers like, I am known for being helpful, I am known for being hardworking, and I'm known for being reliable. Okay, but being known for hardworking, reliable, helpful does not get you promoted. It does not get you. It's not the same as being respected. Being reliable is not the same as being respected. Okay. This is where I often see that women assume that their hard work will be recognized on their own, but instead all they get is more work, less appreciation, they get more overloaded, and they are not seen as the obvious next leader. And I think a lot of it is to do with the way our upbringing has been. I work a lot with women of color, a lot of women from from Indian, Asian origin. And just like me, I see a lot of my clients had been told growing up that if you put your head down, get good grades, go to a good college, get a good job, then everything would be good. Okay. Everything would be good. And that's the message that we have learned for decades. For decades growing up as children, I sometimes kind of notice that it's the same message that I'm passing on to my kids as well, that you got to put your head down and you got to work hard. And when you work hard, then good things happen. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And I remember for myself as well. And this was really a shocker. I guess like the first awakening moment I had very early on in my career. And I'm quite thankful for it. So the first kind of role that I had, it's an interesting story. The first role that I had, once I started kind of working in Houston, I worked for this company called Schlumberger for 10 years. And as a mechanical engineer, I was in this role for over 3.5 years. I was doing great. For the last 2 years, my performance reviews were great. My manager and I had a great relationship. And we had been discussing me getting promoted to the next level for quite some time, actually. And they were on board, just like the story that I told you of my client before was kind of my story as well. And they were on board, and literally every 3 months, I would ask them, okay, so kind of what's happening? What's the plan? Do you have a position open? What's kind of happening? And every 3 months, I got the same message that they're still working on it. They're still working on the promotion. It's coming, it's coming. And every 3 months, like we did this check-in, and every 3 months, it was kind of stalled to another 3 months. And 9 months passed and nothing really happened until I saw that another junior male colleague that we had in the team got promoted to a manager position in another team. And it was such a shocker for me. It was such a shocker. So I'm like, he doesn't have the experience that I have. He doesn't have the level of expertise that I have. He doesn't have the tenure that I have. And so why is it that he got promoted and I am still asking here for when the promotion is coming? And I realized in that moment when I did some self-reflection and thinking that I was just waiting for the promotion to happen. And he actually made the promotion happen by talking to the right people, by making himself visible to the right people. So that's the mistake number one I see, that women assume that hard work will be recognized on their own. Okay. Mistake number two. The second mistake that I often see my clients make that keeps them stuck in roles that they have already outgrown is that women talk about work, but they don't talk enough about the impact it had created for the organization. Okay. Women talk about the work they do, but they don't talk enough about the impact they create for the organization. And so many times women describe tasks. And I see this kind of over and over again. It translates into the conversations women have with their managers during status updates or as they're looking for jobs outside. It most definitely translates into the way they write their resumes and LinkedIn's. Oftentimes, women describe the work they did as tasks or list of role activities they have done. They would say things like, I led this project, I managed this project, managed this team, I launched this particular feature. And they talk a lot about the different tasks and activities that they have done. But promotion decisions are not based on who does the most work. Promotion decisions are made on who creates the biggest business impact. And business impact is not measured in terms of the amount of work that you've done or amount of responsibility that you've taken. The promotion decisions are made in terms of what is the impact you created on the revenue or the top line of the company? What's the impact you've created on retention of your clients? What is the cost savings you've brought to the business? What are the efficiencies you've driven for operations? What are the customer outcomes you've driven? How have you reduced risk for the business? How have you improved performance in the team and created strategic influence? So promotion decisions are grounded in business impact, and business impact has to relate with how you've created an impact on bringing more money to the business or saving money for the business. Okay. That's the only two ways to create a business impact. Because every single business at the end of the day is a business because they make profit. And there are only two levers that allow a business to make profit is an increase in revenue or a decrease in cost. And so for you to be seen as an obvious choice for promotion, you cannot be talking only about the work that you did and the responsibilities that you took and the activities that you did, but you got to be talking about how did you create greater profit for the business. Okay. And I don't see this happen enough for clients. And this happens all the time. In the first, many times when I review resumes, I've reviewed thousands and thousands of resumes. And it's the most common mistake that I see women make, where they're not talking enough about the business impact. And the reason number 3, why I find high performing women staying stuck in roles that they have outgrown, is they don't have enough sponsors. Okay. So many times women are great at making relationships with their manager. Okay. They may have a great they would have a great working relationship with their team, but they also oftentimes have great working relationships with their manager as well. But your manager liking you is not enough to get you promoted. Okay. Because promotion decisions often happen in rooms where you're not present. Promotion discussions happen in rooms where sometimes even your manager is not present. Okay. A lot of time, promotion decisions are actually made before you actually start the promotion discussion. Okay. So it's not enough for your manager to understand what work you do and the impact that you create, but you need people who actually are responsible for those promotion decisions, which is your skip level manager, oftentimes your group manager, people who are 2 or 3 levels above you, to really understand what is the impact of your work and who are willing to advocate for you. Okay. Your mentors are great. They advise you. Your manager is great that they will vouch for you. But at the end of the day, it is possible that even your manager is not the one who's making decision for whether you get promoted or not. Okay. And here's another story that I can share with you from my own personal experience, where I learned that it is just not enough to have the backing of your manager to get promoted to the next level. In fact, I remember again at Schlumberger, at this point I had moved to a role where I was overseeing a team of 10, 15 engineers. And in fact, I was part of I was overseeing this big transition that we were doing in terms of in terms of migrating a large manufacturing site for the business from overseas in Europe to Houston, Texas. And there was this giant piece of work that me and my team had enabled. We had enabled this whole migration of this giant manufacturing site, and kind of sort of managed all of the issues that we had gone through. We had really had the successful migration. We had not let the lead time drop. I mean, our business had retained, in fact, had grown in size. And I was really, really proud of the work that me and my team had done. But unfortunately, that year, I did not get the highest promotion rating. In fact, I was told that I did not do enough. And when I was so mind-boggled, I was completely mind-boggled, and I asked my manager what really happened here. She told me that I did great work, but I did not speak enough about the work to the highest level of management. So unfortunately, she suffered because of that, because the highest level of management thought that my manager's team or my team, we didn't really do any work, which is not true at all. And so there was this gap in perception, because we were doing the work, but we were not talking enough about the work that we were doing. Versus another team, other teams, they were doing little work, but they were talking tenfold about the work they did. Okay, so there was a hard lesson that I learned, that it is not sufficient to just do good work, but you got to talk about the impact of your work, not only to your manager, but to your skip level manager, to your center manager, to your group VP, to the highest levels of leadership, who need to know about all the great work that you're doing, because otherwise they will not know, and they will make their own perception of what you're doing and what you're not doing. Okay. All right. So those are the three big reasons that I see why women often get overlooked for promotions, which is women assume that hard work is going to get recognized on their own, but it doesn't. Women often talk about the work they do, but not enough about the impact they create on the organization. And the third reason we talked about is that women often don't have enough sponsors at the right level. There's another reason that I think is worth talking about that keeps women stuck and overlooked for positions that they are absolutely qualified for, and that is workplace bias. I mean, despite doing all of the work that companies are doing in leveling the playing field, I still think that unconscious bias in the workplace still exists. Okay, women. It still so happens that men are evaluated on potential and women are often asked to keep performing to prove themselves that they are ready for that promotion. So men often get evaluated on potential and women get evaluated on performance. And there's this gap that still exists. In fact, there's a study from MIT Sloan Associate Professor Daniel Lee that found that female employees are less likely to be promoted than their male counterparts, despite outperforming them and being less likely to quit. And her research pointed out at least one reason why. And there's this fabulous paper that she wrote about potential and the gender promotion gap, where she found that on average, even though women received higher performance ratings than their male employees, they still received 8.3% lower rating for potential than men. Okay. So even they did better in terms of performance, they get higher performance rating, but the potential rating is lower than men. And the result of that is that female employees on average were 14% less likely to be promoted than the male colleagues. So that workplace bias is so real. There's another study by McKinsey and Leanin they did in 2025. In fact, every year, McKinsey and Leanin in partnership release a Women in the Workplace report. But the 2025 report, 2025 Women in the Workplace report found that for every 100 men that are promoted, only 93 women are promoted. And of course, that number is so much worse for women of color. Only 60 Black women are promoted for every 100 men that are promoted. And so again, this is connected with women have to prove it bias. Okay, women have to prove it to earn their place. And I think it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate, but for us, like Pink Careers, I really like to focus on what is within our control. Okay, a lot of work is being done to, as I said, to level the playing field, to remove that workplace bias. But some of it is within our control, especially if we are managers and leaders. I mean, as we kind of level up in management and leadership, I do think this is our responsibility to continue to change the workplace by being that example, and then outside of that, really focus on what we can do as individuals, what we can do as women to change the game for us, okay? Which is to focus on the first three reasons that we talked about, on learning how to not just over-index on hard work, on learning how to talk about the impact of your work, and learning how to create more sponsors. That's kind of what we're going to talk about on some of the things that you can change to finally get that promotion that you fully deserve, okay? So here are some tactical strategies. And the first big tactical idea that I want to share with you is called build the case, okay? You got to build the case for promotion. And you got to build the case for promotion way before you want that promotion, okay? In fact, I want to argue that building the case for promotion starts as early as you stepping into a new role. Okay. Within the first 3 months of stepping into a new role, you already can start building the case for your next promotion. And one simple tool that I want to offer you here is for you to create what we call a simple impact tracker. Okay. Start creating a simple impact tracker. So an impact tracker is something where every week or every month, you will go ahead and document your biggest wins. Okay. Go ahead and document what is the big win that I have achieved this week or this month. And then also write, what was the big business problem I was trying to solve? What is the work I did? Who was involved? Who did I interact with? And what really changed because of the work that I did? Okay. So you want to track this weekly or monthly, and you want to again track what is the big business win that I have? What was the big critical problem I was trying to solve? Okay. What big critical problem that I solved? Who was involved? And what changed because of it, okay? And quantify that change. Quantify the change that happened because of it. And back to, you want to talk about what was the change that happened for the business, okay? And again, business impact is everything to do with either increasing the top line for the company or increasing the bottom line for the company, okay? So one thing that I want to stress here is especially, it is really important to document what was the big business problem you were trying to solve? What was the big business critical problem you were trying to solve. An alternate question that I really love that you can ask yourself here is to ask, if I did not solve this problem that I just solved, how would my business suffer? How would have the team suffered? How would have the organization suffered? Because when you ask this reverse question of, if I didn't solve the problem, how would the business suffer? It really helps you uncover, why was this problem business critical? Okay. And then you want to keep building on this impact tracker, and you want to bring this impact tracker to your one-on-ones, to your quarterly reviews, to your promotion conversations. And this impact tracker is what ultimately makes to your resume, to your LinkedIn. And as you have your external conversations and your interviews and all of that, this is the impact tracker that also changes and converts into your stories that you tell. So that's the first strategy that I want to offer, that you don't want to wait until an annual review to happen to start building your story. You want to start building a repository of stories, a repository of wins, a repository of the way you've created impact right from the time that you've entered your new role. Okay. And one of the things that really will help you in determining that business criticality of the problem that you are solving is to actually pay attention to leadership conversations that happen. And there are multiple leadership conversations that happen, including town halls, when there are quarterly town halls where your management may be talking about some of the numbers, some of the way the business has grown, some of the ways in which efficiencies have grown, so some of the plans that the business have in growing further. Going to town hall meetings and paying attention to the growth numbers that leadership is sharing is so important for you to be able to connect the dots between your work and the impact that you've created. You want to attend leadership meetings. You want to ask your management to give you a seat in the leadership meetings, so that you can start to be privy of how the work that you're doing is creating an impact. You wanna review your 3-year planning documents, and companies have these yearly plans and KPIs. And you can also ask your own manager, what are your KPIs? What are some of your KPIs? Because the work that you're doing is connected to your manager's goals as well, right? So the more you understand your manager goals and your manager KPIs, the more you can, again, take the work that you're doing and the tasks that you're doing and the activities that you're doing and roll them up to the impact of the business, okay? So, great way to start learning how to understand the impact of your work is to create that impact tracker, okay? Create that impact tracker and sort of bringing that into all of the conversations that you have with your management and promotion conversations. The second big tactical idea that I want to share with you is to actually learn to articulate this impact that you're creating, okay? So learning how to actually speak about the big results that you're creating. I still remember, like, one of the clients that I had worked with was her name is Nikita, and she's amazing. She was a VP level client, and I remember, like, when she was building out her resume, the numbers that the number that she had on her resume around, the revenue that her work drove, or she had launched a very, very critical product for her business, and the numbers that she was talking about were so small. And I remember we had multiple rounds of feedback where I kept challenging her, Nikita, this is not big enough. Nikita, this number is not big enough. And it took her a while to really get comfortable owning and then speaking loudly that she did work. She had launched a product that brought in direct $20 million additional revenue for the business. Okay. It was so uncomfortable for her to say that the product that I launched brought $20 million additional revenue for the business. Okay. And I had to really challenge her thinking. I had to really challenge her to think bigger, that the work she did is not small. The work that she did was actually having meaningful impact on the business. But oftentimes we are told to be humble. I think it goes back again to our roots. It again goes back to our roots where our upbringing, we have been told to be humble. We've been told to not brag. We've been told to not talk about money and big numbers. Nobody talks about money and big numbers in my household. And we learn subconsciously, unconsciously to just like shy away from talking about those big numbers. I think it's really, really important to normalize self-advocacy, to normalize talking about big numbers, to normalize talking about the big impact that you've created, because if you talk about facts, I mean, the fact was that Nikita launched a product that created $20 million of revenue for the business. And if you normalize talking about big numbers, then it doesn't feel icky or uncomfortable anymore because it's just a fact. And when you talk about facts, then you're not bragging. And when you're not bragging, then it doesn't feel, then it's not a lie. Right. And so one of the strategies I want to talk to you about here on how you can translate your impact, your responsibilities into impact and speak and get comfortable with speaking it out loud is using what I call my SOAR storytelling formula. So my SOAR storytelling formula is my proprietary storytelling framework on how you can really tell a compelling narrative on the work that you did, why it is business critical, how you actually solved a meaningful problem, the results that it created, the big results that it created for the business, and demonstrate your leadership thinking along the way as well. Okay. So the SOAR storytelling formula breaks down into situation, obstacle, action, results, and reflection. Situation, obstacle, action, results, and reflection. And in fact, in the first tactical idea that we shared around building the case, you can actually build the wins in your impact tracker using the SOAR storytelling formula. And you can kind of talk about, this was a situation that we were in. There was a situation that I was trying to solve for, or the project or the program or the tool that I was working on. And then O for obstacle, what is the big business obstacle that I was trying to solve? What was big business critical problem I was trying to solve? Then what are the different actions I took to solve for that problem? Then talk about what was the impact on the top line or the bottom line, what were the results? And then finally, reflection. What did I learn from this experience? How did I use what I did? How did I use what I learned from this experience to maybe make other parts of the business better, maybe make other projects that were going on better? Okay. And so not only using the SOAR storytelling formula to build your impact tracker, but then also articulating it out loud, saying it out loud, practicing talking about your impact out loud using the SOAR storytelling formula will really help you build that confidence, would really help you build that comfort with self-advocacy that we all need to level up to leadership roles. The third big tactical idea that I want to share with you today is to create leverage. Okay. I think it is really, really important for us to create leverage for ourselves, as companies always want to create leverage for themselves as well. Okay. So many times I work with clients who may have worked for a singular company for many years, for over 10 years, 15 years. They've been with a singular company, and maybe for good measure, maybe, that company was giving them the opportunities to grow. I mean, I worked with Schlumberger for 9 years, and I stayed with that company because the company gave me continuous opportunities to grow, and I had many different roles that I did, and that is all great. But at the same time, I think it's so important to know your market worth. Okay. It's so important to know your market worth before you desperately need it. Okay. So it is important, even though you may be doing really, really great at work, even though you may be growing, I think it's always a good idea to be in the market. It is always a good idea to be in the market. So you should always keep your resume updated. You should always keep your LinkedIn updated. You should always keep your network warm. Talk to any recruiters who want to talk to you. Take all interviews. Track compensation ranges. Have exploratory interviews and conversations. And understand what your skills and experience is worth in the outside market, so that when you need it, so that if you need it, and if you decide to step out, you are stepping out in a position of power and not in a position of desperation. And this is not about being disloyal, okay? Looking outside, being always available in the market is not about being disloyal to your company. I think loyalty is such a myth in nowadays, but it is about having options. Okay. So the most powerful women always have options for them. They always have options. You are to be recession proof. Okay. You got to have options. And so keep your resume, LinkedIn updated, have the conversation, and always be available in the market so that you always have leverage. So those are the 3 core tactical ideas that I have for you on how you can step into leadership roles that you are qualified for, how you can stop being stuck in roles that you've overgrown, and how you can stop being overlooked for promotions, which is to build the case, by keeping a simple impact tracker and discussing it with your manager and bringing it light to your leadership at the right level, with that before the promotion conversations even happen. Idea number 2 was to learn how to get comfortable with self-advocacy by using the SOAR storytelling formula. And number 3 is to always create leverage and know your market worth at all times. So as a closing exercise, I want to offer to you is to write your top 3 wins. Okay. Today, I want you to do this exercise. Take a piece of paper and write your top 3 wins from the last 6 months. For each one of those wins, ask, what is the big business critical problem I was trying to solve? What is the business impact I created? And who knows about it? Okay. 3 things that I want you to write. 3 wins from the last 6 months. And for each win, I want you to write what big business problem I was trying to solve, what business impact it created, and who actually knows about it. Okay. Who actually knows about it? That's it for today's episode of Fearless Career Moves. If this resonated with you, be sure to leave us a review and subscribe so you never miss what's next, and share it with a woman who's ready to make her next fearless move. And if you are ready to take your career to the next level, make sure to check out The Fearless Hire, my signature career accelerator for ambitious women just like you. You can learn more at www.pinkcareers.com. Until next time, stay fearless.